Thank you. Hi, good morning. I'm Frank Tooley from Scottish Enterprise, and what I'm going to talk about almost exclusively is the high growth spin out program, and it says what it does on the tin. It's high growth and it's spin out. So what we fund, very generous amounts of funding, are for spin outs, not for license opportunities, and we work with all the organisations in Scotland. We can support anyone who owns IP. Intellectual assets of any type, doesn't need to be patents, can be exploited through the high growth spin out program to create spin out companies that are based in Scotland. So why would we do this? The reason for doing this, the reason we get funding from the Scottish Government to enable us to do this, is because we want economic benefit for Scotland. So the criteria for the sorts of opportunities that we're funding is economic benefit for Scotland, high value jobs in Scotland. That's our metric. If it's not going to produce lots of jobs in Scotland that are anchored in Scotland, we won't want to support it. So that it was mentioned earlier today. Understand, when you go to a funder, you have to understand what their motivation for providing funding is. Our motivation is very much jobs. That's absolutely number one. Maybe net zero is down here somewhere. Economic benefit to Scotland. Those are our motivations. So it's all about investment-ready spin-out companies. So investment-ready is a very important point. We're looking for ambition. So if you come to us looking for hundreds of spin-out companies created by Scottish universities every year, most of those are zero-employee companies or one or two employee companies. We don't support those sort of opportunities. We're looking for opportunities that will need investment, that will need substantial amounts of angel and then VC investment to allow them to grow and to succeed. So what we're seeking to do is to look for opportunities that have that ambition to want to take on, sell part of the company as equity for investment. So if you're a student with an idea and you own your own IP, you can still benefit from this. We've done that in the past. You just simply assign that IP to the university, and the university will come to us, get that company started, and you'll be rewarded with a substantial part of the equity in your spin-out company that you invented the technology to support. So this is the scheme. This is a sort of a flowchart of how we do this. Starting on the left there, I'm the relationship manager for a number of universities and organisations, and for Napier. And what I will do is Fiona or Kathy or Matt will come to me with an opportunity and say, is this something, we think this is something that is suitable to make a high growth spin out company, and we'll have a look at it together. And I might say, well, we haven't proven your case yet much, so I'll give you £5,000 or £10,000, and you can hire a consultant to do some initial work on commercial assurance. And we'll spend a little bit of money on over a month or so to understand whether it is a high growth opportunity. If that proves that it is a high growth opportunity, we'll then together write an application. So that's something I will help you write, the strongest, most compelling case. It's called an opportunity qualification proposal. We'll provide £75,000 as a grant to the university. This is a company that is getting funding from Scottish Enterprise. It's a grant to the university of £75,000. That £75,000 might be spent over 6 months. It might be spent over as long as a year. And it's a very rapid turnaround system. If you put a proposal in, if we prepare a proposal together in over a week, just now, a week later you can submit that proposal, and 2 weeks after that the project can start. We can start the project in under a couple of weeks. So it's very rapid turnaround for getting a decision on spending that £75,000 to qualify your opportunity. At the end of that period, you've spent 9 months investigating that opportunity, hiring some consultants, doing some technical work, doing some customer engagement. You then come back to us and ask for £200,000, and we will give you another grant, give the university another grant of £200,000 to be spent over a period from 6 months to up to 18 months to do some more work of the same type, do some more technical work, do some more commercial assurance work, hiring consultants to come in and help you understand exactly who you should be talking, what your business should be, how your business should be structured. That's a much slower process, because to get the £200,000, it's not a decision I can make on my own. It's a decision that has to be made with a panel of, it's like a dragon's den. We assemble some investors, and you pitch to investors for 15 minutes, and then they ask you questions for 15 minutes, and if they like it and endorse it, we will fund the £200,000 project. But it's a decision that we have to assemble a panel to do. That can only be done 4 times a year, so we have to time the ending of the opportunity qualification phase with one of those panels, so there's no hiatus between the 2 phases of the project. At the end of that, spending £275,000, you'll hopefully have something that is investable by an investor. You'll have a management team. You'll have customers that have said that they want to buy your service or your product. You'll have a prototype that's ready to be commercialized. And at that point, you'll spin out. You'll agree to license the technology with the university. The university will own part of your company. You'll own part of your company. And you'll then get external investment. That's very difficult to do. Getting external investment is an extremely lengthy process. Investors might take as long as a year to agree to invest in your company. So we can provide the bridge funding. So HGSP, High Growth Spin-Out Programme, can provide £400,000 as an investment into the spin-out company at that point to bridge the time gap between leaving the university, being supported by a grant to the university, and being supported by customer sales and by the investment. So that's a flexible duration, as I say there, because it could be 3 months until you get the investment through from the investor or the angel. It could be as long as a year. And at the end of the process, we have an invested high-growth company. Here are some examples of that working. The logos here are some of the companies that I've helped create over the last few years. We've supported 68 grants. We've given 68 grants since 2014. That's resulted in 19 invested spin-outs. And those spin-outs have received £57 million in investment from angels and VCs. In addition to the £57 million in investment, they've also received tens of millions of pounds in non-diluting funding. So that's grants from Scottish Enterprise, from Innovate, from Europe, from others. There's lots of people who give grants to start-up companies. There's lots of, as we heard about earlier today and continue to hear about throughout the day, there's a whole infrastructure in Scotland, an ecosystem, an entrepreneurial ecosystem that will support you. One of those is the Converge prize system. Many of our spin-out our projects are finalists in the Converge system and win and have runners-up in Converge. We win lots of other prizes as well. Our companies win lots of other prizes. I wanted to give an example of a case study of a company that goes through this journey. So here's Novasound. Novasound first approached me in 2016. The inventor is a postdoctoral student at University of West of Scotland who had never spun out a company before. He was an expert he knew all about measuring the thickness of enamel on teeth, and that's what he wanted to create a spin-out company to measure his dream. What he was an expert in because of his technical background from numerous universities in Scotland was David Hughes, who's the founder of the company, knew about and understood that there was a market opportunity in understanding how to monitor the enamel thickness on teeth. So he invented an ultrasound way of measuring that thickness, and to do so, because it's a very thin layer, he needed a very high frequency probe, so it needed to be a thin film. And because it was a thin film, piezo, it was flexible. And as a consequence of it being a thin film, it happened to work at very extreme environments. He wasn't interested in the fact that it worked at very high temperatures, but the success of his company, the reason that he's got the investment that he's got and the customers he's got, and he now employs over 30 people, is because the thin film technology he invented worked at extreme temperatures, and he's not used it. He doesn't do any dentistry. He's using this probe for lots of other reasons. People buy this ultrasound sensor for very many different reasons. And that's something that I've seen in all of, I'm going to say all, to exaggerate to make the point. In every case of a company coming to us for support, the inventor is absolutely sure why they invented the technology. The first customers for that technology are always different from what the academic thinks they've invented that technology for, and this is a perfect example of that. And I can give you tens of other examples of inventors inventing something and some other metric of the technology is actually what turns out to be what sells the technology. Novasound has gone on to make printable ultrasound sensors. They spun out of University of Western Scotland with a $1.5 million seed investment after 2 years of support from us. That's typical. $1 million, $500,000 to $2 million to $3 million is a typical seed investment that we're looking for after we've supported it with $275,000. We then continue to support the company after they've spun out. So immediately after the company spun out, we've provided another £1 million grant to the company as part of a £2 million project as a Scottish Enterprise grant. Subsequently, they got, on the basis of the fact that we were supporting them with a £1 million grant, they got another £3.3 million investment from a different investor. So this is a great success story. This is a good example of what we like to see happening, creating lots of high-value jobs, and it's anchored in Scotland. That was just another example. So other support is something that I want to mention. Something that was already mentioned in the talk immediately before mine was the FIS service. Fantastic service. If you've not subscribed to it, please subscribe to it. This is a way of finding grants that are applicable to you, as has already been mentioned. Scottish Enterprise has a website where you can find what support you have. Scottish Enterprise is a £350 million turnover company supported by the Scottish Government. Almost all of that £350 million is given to companies, for company support. A very small proportion of it is given as grants, like the grants I've been talking about, grants to projects within universities. Most of our support is support for companies. So if you're looking for support for your spin-out company, that's the website to go to. There's lots of different types of support. One of the types of support is a SMART award. SMART award is a fantastic way of getting support for a spin-out company. Typically, when a company spins out from HDSP, it will also have a SMART award as well. So it's a £100,000 project. 30,000 of it is company money. 70,000 pounds of it is a grant to the company. They will also often have a Innovate Smart Award. Innovate Smart Awards is something, as was mentioned in the introduction. I've been an evaluator for Smart Awards, Innovate Smart Awards, for 30 years. Since 1992 is when I first started doing it. I regularly get a batch of SMART applications that have been submitted to Innovate, and I look at those and have to evaluate those. So Scottish Enterprise can help you with getting that Innovate Award. Because we're experts, there's a group of us within Scottish Enterprise that are regularly evaluating smart awards. If you're thinking about submitting a grant proposal to Innovate or any other organisation like the EU, there are people within Scottish Enterprise who would regularly evaluate EU grants, Innovate grants, every other type of grant. So we know what evaluators are looking for and what assessors are looking for, so we can help you get that funded. Innovate Smart Awards, I've got an interesting thing up there that only 2% of applications to Innovate Smart are awarded. Only 2% succeed, and you need to score something like 85% to succeed. And when you look at a number like that, you think, why would I waste my time filling in all that paperwork to submit to SMART? And the reason you should do so is because 98% of the submissions to Innovate Smart are just absolute garbage. As an evaluator, I see these, and I'm not exaggerating when I make this point. Sorry, am I talking too long? I'm about to conclude, so I'll just make this final point. I was evaluating Smart Awards last month, and one of the feedbacks I gave to the proposer was that I can buy this device on Amazon and get next day delivery on it. 98% of the proposal, the reason that it's a 2% success rate for Innovate Awards is that 98% of the awards don't contain any novelty. If you've got a novel idea, it can get funded. So, so submit it. And that's me finished. Sorry.